talking about social media and how it plays into all of us. Not only building our, how we're going to communicate and find our voice in social, but how we're going to connect and impact the things we want to impact, our venture problems. So thank you for coming out today, and we're psyched to learn from you. Hi. Chef Dennis.
All right. Thanks so much for having me here today. It's always a pleasure to talk about my favorite subject. It's something that I took to, I guess, like a duck to water. I was on every social media there was at the time, Facebook, Twitter. I was late to Instagram, LinkedIn, and all those. But I never seemed to have any kind of follow. I mean, I had a good following, but as a food blogger, my friends had these massive followings, and I was playing catch up. And I never felt connected to Twitter. 140 characters isn't. I talk too long and say too much, and wasn't good at abbreviating to really fall into that. Facebook, I don't know. It's just you never connected. I never felt any kind of connection with the people that were on there. I respond back and forth. I didn't know them. It just wasn't a friendly atmosphere. And then a little over about 3.5 years ago, Google Plus started their great experiment. And we call it a great experiment because no one really knows where it's going and whether they continue to do with the format. But that being said, and I've spoken at different conferences, and I always tell people, Google isn't going away. Maybe Google Plus will change and they'll redirect it, and it might be a new product, but it's not going away. So I put my faith in Google that year, and I just jumped into the water, and I did everything I could do to engage. Because one thing about Google Plus is it's a very engaging community. People go there because they want engagement from each other. They don't want two-word responses. They don't want just a like. They want people to actually ask them, how did you do that? What did you do? Where did you get that idea? I love that idea. And at the time I went on, I knew no one. My food blogging friends didn't know what Google Plus was. They didn't like it. It wasn't Facebook. They wanted no parts of it. So I began dragging them over, kicking and screaming, because I thought if I could get enough, I eat food, foreign pictures, everybody was. That's the common bond we all share. So as a food blogger, I said, let's get this on here. Let's start creating a community where we can talk to each other, we can see each other's posts, and we can make all these really cool, interesting friends that are on there. There were physicists, there were people that like cars, there were doctors, there were lawyers, it was just a hodgepodge of people that I would have never had access to had I not been on there. So the first summer I spent into the wee hours every day on there, making friends, making connections, and telling my story when I could. And about 3 months into it, I got an email from someone who wanted me to be part. And this time, let me explain too. I had started blogging because I was cooking for 600 high school girls every day. That was my job. I had transitioned. It was your relief. It was. At the time I took it, I'm going, I've never been to the school before. And I went in there, and it was ugly as hell. Not the girls at school. And I'm going, oh, this place needs a lot of work. But I went in as the manager, and the food was so bad. 2 months into it, I put my jacket back on, even though I wasn't supposed to cook anymore. I have hand problems. And I went back there and started feeding them what I knew how to cook, how to feed executives, white tablecloth, had a budget with a budget of $4, and of course it went over really well. Well, a few years into that, I started a culinary program at the school to teach because I had never had enough staff to do functions. So I said, let me create my own staff. So I started teaching the girls all the culinary stuff. So that worked into me becoming a blogger. I knew nothing of blogging. I knew nothing of social media at that point. I didn't even use Facebook before I was a blogger. I had no need to connect with people I didn't know. And that changed pretty much everything. So when I started my blogging career and went on that, I went on to Google Plus. About 3 months into that, I'm working at this school, and I get an email from someone who was putting together a 20-person internet of chefs to do live cooking classes on Google Plus. First, why me? I'm in a school. You don't know me. I don't have any real presence anymore. I've kind of gone away from being a celebrity type of chef that I never really cared for, and was doing this. So it was just luck of the draw. He had no real reason except he was attracted by what I put down, how I presented myself. So I started, and I went to my wife. Oh my God, we're going to be doing cooking classes live on Google Plus, and we're going to charge for them. We can run 3 a day every day, and I can quit working. I can just stay home and do this. And about 6 months later, I sold about 30 classes. It just didn't catch on. It was a concept so far ahead of its time that no one was really ready for it. I would have a class. I had a class with 2 girls or 2 women in Holland and their sisters in Texas, and we made buffalo wings. And I'm looking through the camera at their stuff, and they're looking at me, and we're talking. I'm just like, damn, biggest wings I've ever seen. Well, they somehow missed the concept and bought legs. So I figured I could go over to Ramsey, or I could take a deep breath. So I took a deep breath, and we made buffalo chicken wings that day. But it then started me thinking more on a global level. And this is where Google Plus has really been something for me to really grasp onto and to really take myself as a person to the next level, because I went from being local, the US, and to becoming global in a very short time. I mean, my blog always had readers around the world, but I didn't know them. I didn't talk to them. They leave comments, I leave them back. Now I'm jumping into, if anyone has used Google Plus, and if you have not, I always tell people the one thing you need to use if you use nothing else is the Hangouts. Because you can jump into a video call with up to 10 people from all over the world at the same time. And I will talk to people from Milan, from Tokyo, Ukraine. It's just a matter of my phone making that noise in my way. It goes, someone's pinging you, and it means they're calling me for a video call. Or if I'm at the computer, I'll get a video call. So I can jump into these meetings with people or just catch up with friends. And because of this type of situation now, we've taken the world, we've made it very small. At any given point, I can jump into, one of my friends from Milan had his birthday party the other day on Google Plus. We were singing Top the Google very shortly, because you never know when YouTube's going to shut you down for singing something that's copyrighted. But we were there, and we had someone from Tokyo was in there, someone from San Francisco, I was in there from Orlando, I think there were some people from England in it. So it's this community that we created, global community, making the world smaller through using Google Plus. And this all comes back to how I have 644,000 followers. Depends on the day, it goes up mostly. 21 million views. So people have come to my profile, to my little topics to see what I'm doing. This is over the last 3 years, so it's pretty good. But the engagement is what attracts people. That, and of course, I do post some pretty good food porn, so that always gives me. There was a while Google didn't know what to do with me because I was posting a lot of social media. I realized that social media was a lot easier than cooking, and I stopped cooking. I stopped cooking. I was still Chef Dennis because that was the name they gave me. But I kind of backed away from doing food, and all I was doing, I have some shows on Google Plus. One is Good Day Google Plus, that's every Friday, and I have 2 to 4 people come on with me, and we talk about life, what they do. I have bands come on. I'm always looking for musical acts to show premiere. I've had some different people on playing and doing things. But that's just a fun, it's my networking tool. It's very easy and relaxed. It's a great show for people to come on if they've never been on one, because it is such an easy-going show. You don't have to do anything but yourself. And I always tell people, when you come on, think of it as sitting down around a table, sharing something to drink or eat with your friends, and just talking about life. So this week it's called Shifting Your Way of Thinking, because I went to a conference called ShiftCon and changed my life for the better in healthy terms of how I eat. I eat gluten-free. It's helped me a lot. Changed all the chemicals in the house. It's really made me aware of what I'm putting in my body into the house. And it was shifting the way of thinking. So I have the person from that group that we went to on I didn't talk about that. And I have my cookie show. Yes.
So what are the major things that came from ShiftCon? Because I was thinking, you look healthier than when I last saw you. That's a compliment.
Thank you.
Like, right? I can tell you've done something.
Yeah, it was amazing. I have this skin problem. We came down here, I got eczema and psoriasis really bad. Doctors, they just want to keep treating me. Wasn't working with acupuncture to help with it. And then my wife and I are talking, and I've been thinking about becoming gluten-free, but it was like, I'll never eat anything good again. John Penier, who just passed away, used to say, I don't know what gluten is, but evidently it's delicious, right? And that's how I felt. And I found some products that were like, I can tell the difference. So that first thing that happened was I felt like a fog was lifted over me. I was more alert. I didn't need to sleep as much. So, and this has just been 3 weeks, so I can tell me it's my tube of this before you see me have anything from it. But it made me think, organic, GMOs. I'd always, what the hell are they whining about GMOs about? I'm like, this is crazy. Genetically modified. We gotta live here. It's got the earth, so we genetically modify something. It wasn't that was the big deal. The big deal was what they were spraying on these GMO stuff still haven't grown. The fact was that Dow and Monsanto were creating these, well, you guys are too young to know, but there was a thing in the 60s that they were spraying in Vietnam called Agent Orange. Okay? Guess what they just put in list? Half of Agent Orange to spray on weeds. That was what? I'm looking at people, didn't I even just say that, did he? The other, I can't remember the other part of it, glyphosate was in, I'm sure everybody's used Roundup at one time. Roundup is one. So they took one of the elements of Agent Orange and they added it to that. And now that's what they're spraying. This guy, Gary Hirschberger, got up and said, if you're living in Iowa and you're pregnant, 60 to 100% of the rainwater contains glyphosate, which causes all kinds of bad things. So this was the awakening for me at this conference. And I went up to Leah Segedy, who's going to be on Friday, and I said, Leah, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I love you, Dennis. Thank you. I said, no, thank you. And the one thing about them was too, when I was telling them what I was doing, I said, well, use up what you have. When you think about these kind of people, you think they're going to burn across in your lawn for using the bad things. It was not that. It was use up what you have, make better decisions, use better things. So that's the shifting of everything. So that was shifting.
Awesome. So you're going to have a show on that?
Friday I have Leah on, and I have another healthy blogger on.
Awesome. And
we're going to be talking about the changes. It's 1 o'clock Eastern time.
Okay. And it's always
on YouTube.
Okay.
Yep, I have 55 good days or 60 good day Google Pluses on there. And I have a cooking show every Monday. And it's really, people will say, how do you stick cameras up and do this? Really a lot simpler than it was. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it. So this is, again, finding different markets. Now, the reason I'm talking about this on Google Plus was I got away from being cooked. I found out that sitting in front of my computer just talking about social media and how you could grow using social media, how to properly use Google Plus. I wrote numerous posts on how to properly use Google Plus because it's not the same as Facebook. And if you treat it that way, it won't work. And all I heard was it doesn't work, nobody's there, nobody answers my questions, talks to me. Well, you don't talk to anybody either, so it goes back and forth. So I wrote posts on it. I wrote tutorials on doing Hangouts, on doing YouTube Live Hangouts, on just using the chat functions in between my blogging. My blog suffers sometimes because of that, because people that are just looking for recipes, I'll have subscribers drop off. But I took all the ads off my blog, and it was, this is for me, this is mine. I'm going to write whatever the hell I want because this is my outlet, this is my extension. I decided I want to be a travel blogger all the time. Because I got called 2 nights at a really nice place because I did a half-an-hour show there. And I was like, and I really liked it, so I wrote a post about it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it, but I said, this could be good. There's a lot of really nice places around, so I started on the road to Chef Dennis. And the thing with me was, and it's funny, we were talking about the startup labs. I will try something. If it doesn't work, I stop. I give it time to evolve. I give it time to grow. I always talk about my first maybe 10 shows is beta. I'm in beta. Sometimes beta goes a little longer. Sometimes beta doesn't go that long. But If it works, I run it. I run it as long as it works. When it stops working, then I move on to another project. So you keep something fresh. You keep a reason for people to follow. You keep a reason for people to engage with you. You want to give them fresh material, and you want to keep their interest. So that's what I do. And that's why I've gotten to where I've gotten because of it. Any questions? Anybody? I've been talking a long time. It's going to be. Yes.
How long does it usually take you to find out that things don't work?
Things don't work. I know the first show, but I give it time. Like if I come off the first show, and I go, this is like that. But then I'll go back. You know, it's always, you got to do things at least 3 times. And I generally will make a commitment of at least 10 shows on something. I won't pull a plug, even if it isn't working. I will try and keep it going. I will try and keep it running because I've made a commitment. I want to disseminate some information, no matter what it is. So at the point that I don't think it's really working for other people, I try to make it work for me. So if it's not the success, if people aren't watching, if I'm not getting views, I try to now find people to come on that interest me. And sometimes that turns the show around. Like if I'm working towards building a product that interests you, but I'm not really focused in it, if it's not something that I want to do 100%, but I'm thinking it's something people need, which I do sometimes, try to give them what they need. If I'm not invested in it, it won't always come across that way in me selling. So when I then take it and say, look, I need to learn about this, I need to learn about this, I need to learn about this, let's bring those people on. So now I'm engaging with them. I'm not really, it's live. People can find it if they want to see it, and the information is good. But I'm not really concerned about anyone else watching. I'm concerned about me learning. Now I've got this for me to go back and draw on for information. And with YouTube, you never know when it's going to become popular because it's evergreen. Okay. The good thing about using Google Plus is I do nothing except hit that start button and hit the end button, and it makes the video form. I do absolutely nothing. I can go in and I can play with it a little if I want to. I can trim it. I can take pieces out of it. All I usually go in is put in the keywords, a little other information in it, and boom, it's done.
And is it automatically go over and post on your YouTube account?
Yes.
Okay.
Automatically, it just goes right to you. And you can have, Google's changed a lot. You can have multiple YouTube accounts now. I am branded as Chef Dennis. So no matter what I do, it comes under my brand. So I don't have, I'll create different pages for different things just so I have them, but I don't ever use more than one YouTube account. But you could.
Yeah.
Say if you were really focused in 2 different areas, you could set up a different account for that different YouTube. One thing about using Google Plus is that coming from a profile page as opposed to a brand page is always easier. But now you can set up a brand as a profile, not as a brand. When Google Plus first started, brands didn't have all the bells and whistles that profiles did, so it was harder to use the brand pages. And you can still now follow. Like if you're trying to push a brand page, you don't get the followers. It's so hard to engage, get people to engage. And the fact is that most people think of themselves as a brand when they're really not. You know, they're a person with a blog. They're a person who has things to offer besides just the brand they're selling. And they need to let that person show in what they're selling. And that's really what will gain you. And even on Twitter and Facebook, people like to connect with people. And this is the great experiment that Google was doing. It was showing that people wanted to connect with them. And it proved it, you know, just on how things progressed there. They've changed their experiment coming and going as it's been, because if something doesn't work for them, they'll just get rid of it and they'll start.
Talk to us a little bit about engagement and conversation and what you're learning, or some of the do's and don'ts as people start to comment. What is engagement? What is your role in engagement?
Well, on Google Plus, as someone who wants to engage, all right, there's something that we do pass back, and I always tell people, it's the old, when I was growing up, was if you wanted to be a millionaire, hang around with millionaires. Of course, that's like no money, but back then it was a lot. So if you want to engage and be engaging, you want to look for the engagement engagers. So you want to look for people on Google Plus that have large followings and offer a lot of engagement. Engaging with your friends that are about the same level as you on Google Plus just for the sake of engagement isn't going to gain you a lot. Because if you engage with me and I engage back, I'm passing back juice to you because I have my account. I have so many followers, so I can pass that back to them. But engaging is always mentioning their name because we don't always see notifications. Like Mr. There's a little bell up there, Mr. Jingles we call him. It's really full sometimes, and sometimes Google decides what to let you see and what's not. So you would say plus Chef Dennis Littley. I really like the cake you shared with us today, plus Chef Dennis Littley. Thank you. Something like that. And then if I see that you've named me, I will plus mention you back. And what that does is that passes back some of my authority to you because Google knows I'm an authority on food.
It's like tagging.
Yes.
Is your computer working with you?
Yeah. Sir? But yeah, it's kind of like tagging. So, but it's a way to get attention. If you just put, that really looks great, you might leave a paragraph, and if you leave that much, I'm going to answer you. But if you don't mention my name, I have no reason to mention your name. Okay, it's kind of, this is some stuff I shared today. Right here. Now this is I was sharing cranberry orange muffins look like breakfast. Sally McKinney, thanks so much for sharing them. And Sally's baking addiction. And I've got 37 pluses on it and 5 shares. So the kindest thing you can do for someone on Google Plus is to share their post because you're putting it in front of all of your people. And it's then you know that I'm going to come back and thank you for sharing it too. So I'm giving you juice. Now there's the good part of this is like I'm being really nice and I'm thanking you for sharing it. But at the same time, when I comment on your post, it drives your post back to the top of the screen. When you comment on my post, it drives it to the top of the screen, so more people get to see it. So while it's the responsible,
Top of your screen.
no, Google Plus stream.
Every comment takes you back onto the top of the overall
Stream, so more people get to see it.
Oh.
It's like giving it some action. Now Google does have some algorithms that have changed, and not every post goes back up, or it just, you know, they've got, as they get bigger, things change. And who gets to see what? It's not as bad as Facebook's algorithms, but it is. So, you know, that's.
Do comments change Facebook where Facebook?
I know in communities it does.
It can. I don't know what the rules are, but I know there are a couple of pages that I've been on that like deliberately have wait to say something so that it would fall down and then be able to bring it back.
Yeah. Now on Google, if you leave a comment on your own or a second comment, it doesn't do anything to you. So you can't reward yourself. Only other people can. The +1 is nice, but it is the least. Here's my show. It is the least powerful of it. This was a vegan chocolate cake, sweet potato cake, and they got 176 pluses and 13 shares. Now all the shares go back to the person that originated it. So it's a win-win. And then knowing what to share is very important. Google Plus is a photo-driven community. Great images about everything. People are drawn to imagery. We all know that. We're very visual. So if you can get a picture like this, and I can share it, it's going to do, I got all the interactions, 22 comments, 176 pluses, 13 shares. Now all the shares go back to that person, so it's helping them. I'm helping them, and they're helping me because I posted something. Good content on Google Plus does not have to be your own content. You don't have to write any content. You can still grow on Google Plus, and you can still get a lot of followers just by sharing other people's content. You're going to be that person that pulls this. You're going to give me a reason to follow you because you post such good content. Now, this is a point when you do get to that level, then you may want to start posting your own. And if you don't have a blog, if you don't have a forum, you can post right here on Google Plus. And the one thing about that is, it still gets indexed for search. So whether you have a blog and you're posting as that blog, which gets indexed, I can just forget about my blog altogether and I can just start posting on Google+. Google+ is now my blog. Everything I post here gets indexed for search. Okay. So this is why Google+ is the answer for a lot of people for posting. For small businesses.
And that's a huge statement. Stop there for a minute. That's not true of Facebook.
Oh, no.
So if you are trying to build a brand, and I've seen sometimes where a post of mine in Google Plus ends up being under the keyword search, and I'm just surprised by it. It was only a post inside of Google. That's very different than Facebook if you're building your venture, right? Because Facebook does not share video, right? That it stays private behind that. So that's a huge difference.
As a new brand coming out, I would never advise anyone to begin on Facebook if they don't already have it. Right? If you're going to spend time, just the way I say, time is money, you have a limited amount of it, you need to put it where it's going to do you good. Twitter seems to do really well for brands, but you got to have that backing behind it. So you're still not getting indexed, you're still not getting this. You live for that brief moment that you're on Twitter. And once that moment's over, it's gone. Google Plus, at least, maybe you're not getting the engagement, maybe you're not really doing what you think you should do, but every time you post something, it is searchable.
So how do you think, when you compare it to Instagram, right? Because Instagram is it's getting searched and indexed, right? So if sometimes if I'll put a word in, I'll be able to find an Instagram, like Google Plus, right?
I didn't know that.
When you think about Google Plus and Instagram, how would you compare the pros of Google Plus over Instagram?
Well, I like Instagram. I use Instagram as documentary. That's pretty much it. I see people that put these real, nothing but words. I want to see great pictures. I want to see food. I want to see dogs. I want to see the beach. I want to see something that really stirs some emotion. I don't want to see memes or little, things that they've made up. This is not for Instagram. People are taking Instagram and they're trying to turn it into a brand awareness kind of tool, and it'll probably work, but I don't think you're going to get the engagement. I mean, I didn't know about it being searchable. That was news to me. Because again, I only use it for fun. But I like it. I think it's another good way to be seen. But if you're going to spend time, like I said, Facebook is going to do absolutely nothing for you. The way they keep changing it, its brand pages are almost useless unless they want you to pay for everything. So spend your time on Google Plus, get a lot more. The next part of that is do videos. Video is king on search. Okay. The largest search engine in the world is Google Plus. The second largest search engine in the world is YouTube. Okay. All the rest of them put together don't come close to you. Okay. So that's where you need to put your focus. And doing videos is not difficult. It really is. It's always better when you're engaging in the video. Like if you come on, I've seen people do them, and all they show are graphs and PowerPoints. I'm like, this is your idea of a YouTube video? You have to engage when you do them. You have to entertain. All of my shows entertain. You have to give people a reason to want to watch them, especially if they're longer than 3 minutes, which they don't have to be if you're selling a product. If I try telling chefs, I've been trying to find a chef to do it. They all look at me like I'm crazy sometimes because as a chef, nobody has time to do it. But set a computer up in your office. Go in and say, hey, today I'm making ossobuco. It's really great. The veal shanks came in. They were perfect. I've got some nice garden fresh vegetables. Stop by and make sure you let me know that you're here today. Boom. End of video. 45 seconds. Boom, it goes out. People are searching restaurants and they're right there. I see the chef. I see his enthusiasm. I see what he's talking about. So any small business or project that you have, you can make those short videos. I've told people to sit down, make 10. Right? If you've got a product and you're looking at longevity, sit down and make 10 videos, all private. You can either do it from YouTube Live and make them private, or you can do them from Google Plus, and after you're done, just going on them private. The chance of anyone seeing them in that short a time is not real great. Every now and then someone will stumble across it. Okay, now once a week, you pop a video out on Monday. You engage the rest of the week. You make comments. Okay, next Monday you put number 2 out. You do this for 10 weeks. When it gets close to 10 weeks, you do another 10. Now, one great thing about Google Plus is that everything you've ever done becomes new again. Because your following increases. It increases. Like every Thanksgiving I put this pumpkin crunch cake, and I don't know how far down it is. And it always does really, really well. I'm so excited about that. This is my story. Paris. This is low for this year, 153 plus. It usually gets up in the thousands. So, but every year I put it out. But for bloggers, your posts become new again on Google Plus once you start to build up. Like if you see your following almost double, it's time to put it out again. And usually if you've got enough content, you don't have to put it out that soon. But every time your following really gets a good increase, you've got all these new people to see it. There's all these new people on Google Plus. So putting the information out again is another way to revive an old post or to get people interested. So you've done those 10, we talked about that, so you make another 10. So every Monday you put the new one out, every Wednesday or Friday you put the old one out because it's brand new again. So now you've got 2 out. So now you've got 2 little things people are seeing. Yeah.
You mentioned posting the videos once a week. Do you think that's a good rate to be posting videos, or is there an ideal rate that you should try?
I don't know if there's an ideal rate, but I like to give people consistency. So once a week, I don't think you should post them more than once a week. It's not like you're going to get rewarded for repost. Like you might repost it. Like if you posted on Monday and you're new, you might reshare it out again. When what you do is you take that post that you made and you reshare the post maybe Wednesday or Thursday to give it a little more traction. And at different times of the day, share one in the morning, share one in the late afternoon or evening, and that way you'll catch some people and try and get different people wherever. But I mean, if you don't get a lot of engagement and interaction at first, don't worry about it because it takes time, things get built up. But by doing that, and you do that for 10 straight weeks, right, you're setting people up to start to have some expectations that you're going to provide them with these little tidbits, these little gems once a week. It's not taking a lot of their time. There's not a lot of investment required to watch them because they're under 3 minutes. And I'm going to learn something or I'm going to laugh. But one of my favorites, I don't know if you've ever seen the Anglophile talks. She does all the British words and how they're so different from Americans. And one this week was how to curse at an English person using the different words. So I'll watch them, and they're short, and they're entertaining, and they're fun. But if you're selling a product, remember too, the product has got to engage people, and it's got to be entertaining. It's got to be able to be something to come back.
What can you say about the legalities of using songs as background and stuff like that?
Well, YouTube has a lot of free stuff you can use. I wouldn't necessarily use them as backgrounds. What I do find is that if you are not on this, don't get caught up in thinking you're going to make money off of your posts unless they're going for $5. Because you need, I don't know, 20,000 views to get $1 or something. It's crazy. So don't mark ads. Don't put any ads until you get to a point where you've got a good following. People are coming back consistently. You're getting a lot of views. You're getting 5,000 views on something. You're getting enough views to warrant it because up to that point you just aggravate people. And you don't want them to be aggravated looking at your videos. You want them to be happy. So if you run those little ads, those scroll ads and everything, you can opt out of them in 5 seconds, but still there's no reason to because you're not going to make anything off of it. So the legality then becomes if you're using ads, that's when they really, if you're making money off of someone else's copyrighted material, that's when you get crazy. So if you're going to use some of it, I think you're okay. I don't know for sure. I think you're okay as long as you don't have you're not making any money off of it on YouTube. But I would be very careful about background songs. If you want to find something, find somebody here to write your quick song. Usually have a lot of really interesting things that you use free that are copyright free.
Can you use Google Plus to leverage your website's keyword rankings?
That's a good question. And I'm not as knowledgeable on SEO, but I know it's who does. What you're going to do is by posting, if you use your keywords, and one thing I did have a couple, I had the man that wrote Google Semantic Search, David Amerlin, is a friend of mine. He's been on some of my productions, and Joshua Berg is just brilliant about that. But what they keep telling me is we tend to overuse keywords. So that's one of the problems, especially with keyword, because what is wrong with it? Because you got to put it like every other word's got to have a keyword. But I think having the keywords here, because this is searchable, because wherever you post is searchable, your keywords are going to help you. That would be my inclination. Okay. So putting them in that first few sentences, the 150 characters or whatever it is, they always give you to post when you do a blog post, will probably help you. Certainly wouldn't hurt you. But again, it's smart. Google has gotten very smart about how people post. They've gotten very aware of, they know when you're doing something just to do it. It's got to be natural and organic. Okay, that's what they're looking for. That's how all their different updates, the Penguin updates, different things that they're doing. They're looking at ways to stop people from just making money off of keywords and placement and tying it out of people's posts. So they're really very aware of that. And if they see a pattern, they won't necessarily let you know that they see it. They'll just kind of push it in. So just being very organic and careful. It should just be a natural flow of sense if you can get your keywords into it. But like I said, posting on here and then tying in, like if you were going to do a post, say you have a blog and you want to push it, or if you just do a post, this is how you write it. It's got to have a beginning. Okay, it's got to, so you need to start it off with something, a paragraph, a couple of sentences. Then you need to put in your link to the post and 3 to 4 hashtags. Because then you just confuse. They don't know what topic or what they think it is. So those 3 or 4, that's all it's going to see. And then a really good picture. If you don't have a picture, then create it. Does anybody use Canva? I use Canva.
Canva is awesome. You turned me on to Canva. I forgot who introduced me to Canva. Yeah, you should pull that up.
I'm looking to see if I.
This is great for you guys that need graphics.
Can you pull up my blog? Of course. The Ray-Ban. And I'll show you some things that I do. I'm Photoshop. I can't. I have it, and I bought like 3 editions of it, and I just look at it. Okay. All right, that's one of the ones I did on Canva, right there. These, the green one and the blue one, I did those on Canva. So anytime I don't have a picture for the header, this is one of the posts I have. And I don't think I even have it in the post. I don't. I think, or it's at the very end. I learned how to do screenshots. I'm so excited. I always wondered how they did it, and I finally figured it out. There we go. So I made that up on Canva. And Canva's got all these really cool designs you can use for free. You can buy them like $1 if you buy something. But it's got all these different templates for all your different social media, for presentations, for blog posts, for anything you want. And then you pull things like the ticket down. Boom, you put it on, you change the colors, you change the font, you change the font size. You just drag them around in place and you change the backgrounds. So you can have a lot of fun and you can make up some really nice things with it. You can also pull a picture on there. So if you want to put a photograph, like for my shows that I have there with the Good Day Google Plus, I just take a blank screen and I just keep popping. I put my logo on it, I put the pictures of people that are on it, and I just change the date. So once I have one, I can go in there and change it every time. So it's a great tool to use. Any other questions? Yes.
To switch gears a little bit. So you mentioned that you wanted to bring in people to your show, you want to learn things from them. So my question to you is, were you always as good as networking? And what advice do you have for us to become better at?
No, I suck at networking. I hated networking. I cringed when my boss would say, we're going to this function to network. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to talk to anybody. Okay? Now all of a sudden I realized that it was fun. I started approaching it differently, and Google Plus is what changed my mind. Because I started talking to people about different things other than what I was interested in. One of the things I always tell people when they network is, all right, you want to network with people that will do you some good. Okay, so generally when we network with like-minded people. I get bored with it. I get tired of it. Okay, I can talk to them anytime I want to. I want to talk to somebody with something new, something interesting. So think outside of your comfort zone, because you never know who that person is connected to and what can come from it. So when you network, when you go to network events, stay away from that little group of friends that you already know. That's what I do on Google Plus. I'll see somebody that's doing something, like I sent an email of this, his name's Chris Foot, and I can't remember the name of the band. He's got a band in Michigan, and I love music, I liked it, and I said, wow, this is really cool. It took me a while to really get it going, but then his band came on. I played like 4 songs from their attic. Nice. But I network with people outside of my comfort zone. Network with people outside of what my interests might be, because if you're interested in it, I might be interested. Does that make sense?
How do you go about getting them to come on your show so for the rock band, did you like offer them something so they would want to help you out, or what did you do?
I offered them 644,000 possible viewers. And I offered them search engine rankings because of their video. I have a woman, there's 2 you've probably never heard of either of them, but Heather Faye is a singer on Google Plus who has albums out now because of Google Plus. Okay. She started, I remember, her first Kickstarter campaign that I donated to. I was supposed to get a private concert for giving her $75. But I looked at it and said, Google Plus has been good to me. I like Heather. I'm gonna just give her some start. So she got her first album, and I got a copy of it. We never did do the private concert, but she's been on my shows a couple times and sang. So that's good enough. But people's careers have been escalating. Kawasaki, G Plus lit him up. I mean, his book, 8, may not have never become as big as it was if it wasn't for Google Plus. He just really went through that. His part, the person that works for Peg Fitzpatrick, is actually going to be in Tampa, 16th and 17th, something like that. But you see how people's lives have changed through social media. I don't see as many on Twitter or Facebook because I don't follow them there, but the ones I know on Google Plus that have become rock stars in their own right because of it.
Okay, so to follow that, your 600,000 group on Google Plus. What did you do in the beginning to get people to go on your show? What can we leverage not having 600,000?
Okay, when I first started Good Day Google Plus, I started it. I did one thing. I have run 2 online bloggers conferences. I was the first online first online conference on Google Plus ever. I did that. People went, whoa, look at that. I ran 11 sessions. Friday night we had a virtual cocktail party where people were sharing pictures of drinks that they were drinking while we were drinking. And then we started the sessions Saturday morning at 10 a.m. with someone from England kicking off the show. We're talking about Google Plus. And I ran 6 sessions on Saturday, 4 sessions on Friday. This year we did the same thing, but I did 6 and 5. I got to 1 that was more information. So when I did my first show, after the first show, I was like burned out. I've been doing at least 1 week for my bloggers, where I would bring different people on and talk about different aspects of blogging. But I was tired. And in September, I said, I gotta do something new. I started Good Day Plus. So I took all these people that I had met over the course of being on Google Plus, which isn't hard if you're personable and engaged. And I said, I'm starting this show. And I had Jana Nystrom, who is from Finland, who has like 400,000 viewers. I had David Amerland, who wrote Google semantic search on it. It was just simple, really good. It was in Greece. And I had Ronnie Bincer, who is the Hangout helper and can answer every question you've ever had about Hangouts. And they were my first show. And I would see comments was, who is this guy? And he can get, hey man, I'm Ronnie Bincer, not nice one on the show. You know, and that's where the joke came. You know, I don't know SEO, but I know a guy. So you just have to engage. And it doesn't matter. If you have 1,000 followers, but those 1,000 followers are dedicated and really like you and engaging, that can be more powerful than my 600. Okay? It does not take that much to trend. Right? We did a test to show trend into brands, and we made something with Kraft macaroni and cheese. And I had people post and say, I would never make this. But for this, we're going to pretend this is when I was in high school and I did it. And posted about it. So we showed we had 6 million impressions in 3 days. All searchable. Because we posted on Google Plus. So, you know, again, by finding these like-minded people or people that think like you at first about products and joining with them and engaging with them, and then starting to look outside your box to see who they're engaging with, what's hot and recommended, some of those people. All those people don't always post. You can go to their page and see how they post. Google Plus has like an 80-20 rule, 80% of other people's stuff, 20% of yours. If it's all about them, it's not the place to be. Okay, you think of it as someone walking into a cocktail party, standing on a table and shouting, look at me, look at me. Those aren't your friends. Those aren't the people you want to hang with. Okay, it's the people that are interested in YouTube, you're interested in what they do. So if they're posting all about them, that's not someone that's going to do that. But if they post all these other people's stuff and they're engaging with people, and if you look on my Google Plus page and see I do answer people. People wish me happy birthday last year. I think it was about 1,800. I answered everyone. But last year I did. It was it got to be just something I had to finish. But you know, people will engage with you if you're genuinely interested. It may not happen right away. It may take you 3 or 4 times at doing it. So don't get discouraged because you don't see it. You may not always respond to it, but if you're persistent and you're genuine, people will start engaging back. And that's when we start leveraging different things. But it's easy. Like if people contact me now and say, I'm doing this show, and I look at it and see, well, okay, they're all right. Like I was on one last night. It wasn't one of the best productions, but they're nice people, so I went on to support them and help them. So there's a lot of people on Google Plus that are like that. It's a very giving community. Nobody is hiding secrets. Nobody is not going to tell you how it works for them or what to do to be successful. Everyone wants you to be successful. And they're all, you know, you'll find your trolls just like anywhere else, but it seems like there are the best.
Okay, so as a brand, if you're starting from scratch, because I know you kind of have like a face behind your name, and I think that probably helps you a lot. What would be your recommendation for a brand that wants to start completely new on Google Plus?
Well, the most important things for brands to realize, and this is a real difficult concept because most brands, big brands, are run by PR agencies that don't want to personalize you. Google Plus, you need to put a face to that brand. Okay? Even if it's your mom and different people are going to post for her all the time, you need to put a face to it. You need to get that personal connection, get people a reason to engage with you. If you put a logo up there, even if it's a pretty logo or a really striking one, you know, unless, to me, a brand is Kraft, Ford, Toyota, you know, something major. Everything else, there's just a person behind it that is running it, so you need to let that come through. You can be a brand, but you need to have a person. That brand has to have a personality, and it's got to engage. And a lot of times, it's easier for people. Like if yours is Devin's Tasty Treats, it's sometimes easier for them to plus mention a person rather than that brand. So sometimes it's good to be the person featuring the brand, or it'll work both ways, but you know, it depends. It takes a little more effort to get people invested in you. It's just a brand.
Have you seen it translate your posts from Google Plus to your website? Have you seen that your traffic on your website has gone up because of that?
Good question. Okay, people always get upset when they go to Google Analytics and they do not see a lot of traffic from Google Plus. You will never get a lot of Google Plus. What you will get is a ton of organic search results. Okay, my organic search results run anywhere from 40 to 60%. That's my traffic.
So what does that mean? Or
That means
60%
all my traffic.
of all your traffic is coming from organic search
results.
that Google's picking up from your Google posts.
Correct. Because I post a lot on Google Plus. When I about 4 months in is when the transition started. I was getting no organic search. I mean, it was sad. Okay. And then all of a sudden it started going up. It started going up. And while interest numbers didn't change, or my direct hits to my blog didn't change, or different, Twitter. It took me a long time to even find where Twitter was. I didn't know it was TCO. Where's Twitter? I don't get nothing on Twitter. Facebook and Twitter, never really that much. But what you will start to see is that gradual increase as your authority rank picks up and as people begin to trust you. And that comes from people clicking on you. It's like there used to be this old hair commercial where I told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends. And that's what happens is as your authority grows. And the one thing about following is, like all the following, like to say of the people that are following me, if they look for a pumpkin cake, guess who's coming up first in search? Because of following. Because Google makes search available to you for people that you know are connected. And they use Google Plus as part of it. Okay, so that's a big help on that. So if you're a brand and people are following you and they're looking for your that type of product and they're already following you, you're going to come up ahead. If you've got videos, you're going to come up faster.
All right. So to kind of gear this towards people starting small businesses and using Google Plus. So some of your advice was to find people with similar interests to begin. So let's say for my photography business, would I find other people doing similar things and engage with them? And what do you think some steps would be that I should take?
There are communities on Google Plus, and this is sometimes the best place to go to find like-minded people quickly. I brought that up. So you would search for communities, and you would find photo communities. You might look for something that's local, although it probably isn't, but it's always a chance. So photography communities, and go through them and look at them and see where there is actual interaction, because a lot of communities are those ugly cocktail parties where nobody is talking to each other, they're just yelling their name. So you want to make sure you're not in one of those communities. That's pretty much a waste of time. One thing about communities is lots of times people will cross-post to a lot of different communities, and that's spam. And the community owner can actually classify it as spam and eject you, and have Google just thinks you're spam. If you get enough of these, you can lose your whole account. So you have to be very careful about how you post and look at guidelines. But that's the place that we go first to find out if photographer. What kind of photographer would you like to do?
Well, funny thing is, I actually don't do photography.
Okay.
I just have a team of people who do.
Okay. But I mean, if you were nature, if you were bridal, if you were senior portrait, headshots, okay. So you might try and be a little more specific and find those. All right. But then, again, everybody loves good pictures. You want to start posting some nice dynamic great pictures. And this is tag it with your web address or whatever. And like I said, just write a little few lines about it. I thought this one came out, he said such and such. It was backlit on this with I was using a Nikon for this lens and whatever. It's some information. Draw people to give them something. You always want to give them something. And if you're in a photo community, even more so, because they're going to want to know how you shot it, what you shot it with, all the different information that you can do on it. Because you're helping someone learn how to shoot. And then once you're out of that, like I said, if you're posting in the stream, you're allowed to catch a bunch of different people. And whoever engages with you, go back and just engage with them.
You mentioned earlier that you post a lot on Google Plus. What is considered the appropriate?
I don't think there's an appropriate amount. It's what's right for you. there's days where I might not post at all, and there's other, and I'll go through the stream, and if nothing strikes me, I'm not gonna force it. I'll just let it go. Maybe I'll, drag one of my old posts up, and I'm doing something to like make food bloggers gasp. I post entire recipes, and it's like you're selling one of their children. And I was like, oh my God, how could you do that? But when you stop and think about it, I'm not as crazy as it seems, because I'm giving someone, and I had a blog designer, first time I did it, and I told him, he said, Dennis, do you have a printable recipe? I said, of course I do. It was great, because after you post your recipe and all your instructions, which is like the heart of simple blogging, put down underneath it, for a printable recipe, here. I'm such a nice guy, and they're going to go to my blog and print it anyway. So I'm giving something away. I'm drawing people in. Like I said, you're never going to get that direct traffic from something, but you don't know where you're going to get benefits from. Maybe they become subscribers. Maybe they follow you, get a email list out. So you have to think about all your options when you do something. It's always, give them a reason. Give them a reason. So, for me, to post the appropriate amount would be whatever is right for me at that day. Like if I see half a dozen really good images, I'll post them all. If I see one, and that's all I can find, I'm not going to spend all day going through the stream trying to find something. It's got to be there, and I'll post it. On later in the day.
Right, like I know Facebook kind of penalizes you if you post too close together, is there anything like that? Or?
Well, if you're posting correctly, it won't be too close together.
Right.
Because you need, if you're sharing a post, like if I find something really nice and I want to share it, I still have to write an introduction. Okay, I still have to tag the person. I usually don't put hashtags on someone else's post, but you can, because they're still searchable. And there's instances where my share of something will come up higher than search than the actual post, which is kind of subtle. It does happen. But the good thing is that they click on this, they can take back to the post. But that'll happen, yes.
Do you have an email newsletter?
I don't have a newsletter now. I've been thinking about that, and like I said, my blog is pretty much for me, and I post about so many different things that I haven't done it because I post about Plus, I post about food, so I haven't really gotten to that point because I don't know if everybody wants to read it. I have to have two newsletters, so once it starts to become work for me, it's like fun. I like it to be natural, organic. And I might post 3 times this week. I might only post once next week.
Do you have any recommendation on how long or short a video should be?
Well, people's attention span is about 3 minutes. Anything after that's a crapshoot. So one way to get around that is if you timestamp it, which I do it too, but I know there's people out there that do it. And you take, like, so on my Good Day Google Plus is an hour. So if I really wanted to get more views, I would take a timestamp of, he said this at this point, this was a high point at this point, this was a high point at this point. So people can go through, find what they want, click on it, and go right to that bit of information. If you're sharing the channels, so there's some cool nuggets in there you want to put out at different points. So getting people to watch a whole thing, I have a friend that watches them on 2 times this week, so they go faster. She wants to see something just so they So, it is. There's so much content on it. And speaking of that, television is changing. Prior TV, you got the adapter to watch YouTube and Netflix, Chromecast, Apple TV. Everything is changing and moving towards videos. People are so tired of conventional TV. They're looking for good content. So that's definitely a future that you provides.
Where do you make your money?
Well, you make your money off of ads. Okay, but you need, if you have a blog, you need to be getting about 500,000 hits a month. Other than that, it's just almost not worth the trouble.
Is that how you personally?
I make my money off of Google Plus training, okay, and off of hosting shows. So say you have got a product and you want me to promote it. Well, there's a couple of different avenues. If you just want me to coordinate the Google Plus Hangout for you, because learning them can be a little tricky. There's a lot of things that you don't realize that can ruin your show or can make it work. So you hire me to do that. I get everything set up for you. I start it, I stop it, I make sure everything technically is good. I coach you on that, I train you on that. Now, if you want me to promote it to my followers, that's more money, because now I'm saying, yes, I like this product, you should all like this too. So, but that's where I generally get our training. Sponsorship of my shows. I still haven't quite done yet, because I'm still doing things. I'm in a position in my life where extra money is always nice, but it
Right.
that's definitely, there's ways to make it.
Thank you, Chef Dennis. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Now, we have this thing called Give, Ask. You're like giving us so much information about how we become rock stars on Google Plus, all that good stuff. So what is one thing that every single person in the Launchpad can do for you?
What is one thing?
Yes.
If you like what I said today, follow me on YouTube or follow me on my blog, or just check it out. And if you have questions, ask them. If there's any way I can help any of you, ask me.
And your handle is Ask Chef Dennis.
Yes, you can find me on all social media except Google Plus, and that's Chef Dennis. And on Google Plus, I'm Chef Dennis, because they made you have last names.
So let's put that on the board.
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let me get my. You know what? I'm
I
gonna
have some cards up here if anybody needs them.
Chef Dennis.
If anyone wants to know how to do cooking videos, I got that pretty damn nailed at my house. I'm in Kissimmee, so I'm not far. I do a cooking show every Monday at 3 o'clock with a kitchen designer. And just so you don't think I'm completely crazy, I do it with a kitchen designer from New York who is worldwide. I mean, she's known, she's really big. And we do it. And the idea was, my kitchen's kind of sad. My idea was, I want a free kitchen. So I started the show so I could get a free kitchen. So once we build up enough of a presence, then we can go to, I actually like Samsung products. Ask for all new, a refrigerator, a stove, with an induction stove. Because, and I will shamelessly promote them.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the whole idea. She says she can get me the cabinet, she can get the sink, she's for sure get the flooring. Major appliances are all the same. And she's written to Better Homes and Gardens to see if they feature the rebuild on it during the show too. So we're still waiting here. So I mean, there's always, just like my new travel series, my wife and I can get comp all over Florida at several nice states that are $300-400 a night.
It's a win-win. Once again, let's give him a round of applause.